This is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. You've probably heard of that. It's 15th of August, and it's about 7:37 in the morning in the not-so-holy Holy Land. Chugging at 80 degrees already, high and 95 today. And then it goes down a little bit to the low 90s, and then it'll go back up again. It'll stay like this till mid-September. Then our weather will dip about a month, and our weather will get nice, and it could stay nice all the way to Thanksgiving. You don't know. We don't know. Uh, the weather has been better than I could remember in August. I don't remember an August this nice. It's warm, but I mean, I can remember August where it was way over 100 every day, or almost every day. 103, 106, that kind of stuff. Okay, so what we're going to do today is Trump wants to claim the Straits of Hermouz as his or America's. And he probably will do that shortly. I don't know what good it's going to do. I think it's irrelevant. It'll just irritate the Iranians, that's for sure. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about what Trump's doing with Iran, and we'll talk about what Russia's doing with NATO, with drone provocations, Romania and Latvia, the latest, and the Houthis are really giving a shellacking to Saudi Arabia. They're hitting infrastructure. Civilians have gotten killed very recently. And where is Turkey and Pakistan? Eh. What are they doing? Nothing that I could see. Iran doesn't care about them. And the Houthis don't care about them either. That's pretty interesting. And then we had, some days ago, not long, we had, I think, a 7.7 in Colombia, and we had another 7.7 yesterday in Indonesia. And it actually got some tsunami action. Not anything massive, but something did happen with tsunami. So maybe we're getting into, I believe it's in Mark 13, he says great earthquakes. So we've been having earthquakes, but 7.7 is a great earthquake, I would say. Now, when you get into the 8s, the damage gets catastrophic. And Japan started building buildings on rollers, perhaps in the 60s or 70s, to sustain the earthquakes, of which they've often got a lot of. So the building sways. I was in a building on, I think, 23rd or 26th floor when there was a significant earthquake in San Francisco, probably about a 5, a 4.5, a 5. And I remember the building swaying, and it wasn't a lot of fun. And I was thinking about, wow, what if you really sway and you're sliding across the floor, and the window breaks, and you're going to fall down 20-something floors. Not a lot of fun. But their building rollers only work up to an 8. So the chances are the other rollers in the world probably work only to about an 8 anyway. So what do you do if we start having 8.7s? Not 7.7s, 8.7s. Well, I think most of us have no concept of what would happen, especially if you hit cities. I mean, I can tell you one very safe place to be would be in an airplane. But An 8.7 would be, wow. The aftershocks would probably be in the medium to high sevens for hours, and those would be more damaging also. What if you had a 9.3? If you hit a major city with even a 9, I would think you'd have probably 3/4 of the buildings would be unusable, collapse, fall down. The death toll would be, I don't know, half the city, a third, a fourth, I don't know. It'd be pretty high. Be pretty high. The gas lines would break and fires would come about. The sewer lines would break, water would come. The overpasses, would break, bridges would break. The roads themselves would break up. It'd be very hard for rescue workers to move around and get in. Well, anyway, let's see what happens. What is a great earthquake? I don't know. Maybe a 7.7 is not a great earthquake because a lot of people survive it. You get a city with a population, I don't know, of 1 million, and you have 300, 400, 500 dead. If you have an 8.7 and you have a population of 1 million, you're probably going to have, 100, 200,000 dead. If you had a 9.3, you had a city of 1 million, you'd probably have 600,000, 700,000 dead. The city would have to be abandoned. That's one way to destroy the nations, isn't it? Just run a lot of earthquakes in there, and that's it for the nations, isn't it? Yeah. All the great works of Satan, these high rises and stuff, are not going to be around. People aren't going to be able to rebuild it and go back to it. The cities will be gone. Streets are broken, bridges broken, overpasses broken, freeways broken, gas lines broken, sewers broken, water broken, roads broken. Everything is broken. Fires all over the place. The dead will never get dug out. Yeah. Okay, let me get into the live stream. See what's going on. Looking pretty good right now. And I'm going to put a quick post up, and that's going to be pretty quick. All right. Thank you, everybody, for greeting me. Okay. Let me get my post up in there. think everything's okay. Let me check. Everything looks pretty good. All right, I'm gonna do some praise now. Being a Bible believing site, very few, or I don't even know any that actually do this using the correct names, but here we go. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 There is somebody coming in here doing witchcraft targeting me. So I'm going to put something on this person, and you all believers can agree with it. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, there's someone in here doing witchcraft targeting me, I believe. And I would ask you to make sure they reap what they sow. And they're trying to curse me, and according to the scriptures, I would remind you, you said you'll curse them. And I submit this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. You can agree with that. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I command all the unclean spirits to depart from this person, attempting the evil spiritual warfare at me, designed to target me. I command all the unclean spirits to come out of this person. Come out of every person that counseled this person in doing evil in the last 3 years. Come out from every person who lives in the same house as this person. Come out from every person who works at the same business as this person does. And I command all the unclean spirits to depart from all these people immediately, never return unto them again, and to never appear to this person attempting to do the evil spiritual warfare for the next 5 years continuously, nor go in them, nor guide them, lead them, direct them, assist them, and counsel them. And I further command any person with an unclean spirit that attempts to help this person, counsel them, guide them, lead them, direct them, the unclean spirits depart from those persons the very second they begin these actions. And this will be in place for the next 5 years continuously. And there's no workarounds to these. And it's all set in place irrevocably for 5 years continuously, beginning now, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with that. We'll fix their little wagon. Okay. Let's get going here. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick prayer. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray for a good anointed live stream today, and we have good fellowship with the people, and the people understand the scriptures well and accept the truth of the scriptures, and they understand how you're going to fulfill prophecy, and we understand some things about what the nations are up to. And we have a good time, enjoy ourselves. We all have strength, stamina, endurance, and stay alert and learn. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with that too. And we do have a few prayer requests. It's not much, but I think 2 or 3. Whoops, where are we? That's not it. No, we don't. We had them. We don't have any now. Okay, prayer requests were not today. They were must have been yesterday. We had them. So, okay. Trump says that he's going to hit Iran hard economically, and he will soon declare Hermouz U.S. territory. He means the Straits of Hermouz in the Persian Gulf. But he doesn't want us annexing the West Bank. But he'll go call the Straits of Hermouz his. Uh, Trump urges the Americans to accept slightly higher gas prices for the great service of preventing Iran from obtaining nuclear bombs. Dismisses concerns about conditions aboard the aircraft carrier, the Abraham Lincoln. Now, he, like all the others, doesn't talk about negatives, just like tries to make like they never happened. That's standard Satan-bot behavior. So Indonesia got a 7.7. Tsunami waves were recorded after the quake and several aftershocks, which is normal and typical. Residents fled homes. A building partly collapsed, and a hospital moved patients outside, though no initial damage was reported in the hospital. So they didn't do too badly so far, but we got to see. And a lot of this depends on the building standards or the building codes that they have in the country. So this could be the beginning of more great earthquakes. Their 7.7s have been fairly, not typical, and now we've had two within a week of each other. So we'll see. I have no idea what's going on. In terms of, I have no idea if we're going to be seeing more of these, if they're going to escalate. On the Richter scale, we just got to watch and wait. I don't know. Eventually, I think they will escalate, but we'll see. So the Houthis attacking energy facilities in Saudi Arabia. Now that means oil, natural gas. It doesn't mean their electrical grids, so the people in their houses don't have electricity. Now, if the people in the houses don't have electricity, the building's generator will kick in because they have very dangerous heat in Saudi. You're going to be over 110. Anything over 110 is really bad. Anything over 105 can be pretty bad. Okay. The key to it, if you ever get stuck in something like this and you have your water running, is take a cool shower. Turn on the shower with, like room temperature, whatever, and then start cooling it down gradually till you get it as cold as you can take it, and stay in it when you get it as cold as you take it for a minute or two, and or if you could take it, stay 5 minutes, better yet. That would be the most you'd ever need to stay in it, and that would drop your core temperature down, and you probably will stay pretty comfortable for anywhere from 2 to maybe even 5 or 6 hours, depending. I used to do this when I lived in Tiberias many years ago without an air conditioner, and it would be over 100, and I would do it once, lunchtime-ish, and it would cool me off, and then I would go back at the end of it, like 4 o'clock or something, and I would do it again, and that would get me through the night. And we used to sleep with 2 fans going like this, and it keeps you reasonably cool. But you sweat where your body is in contact with the mattress, because that doesn't get you there. You need a water bed, and you gotta stick ice cubes in it before you go to sleep. The air conditioners then were approximately $2,500 for a room air conditioner. They call it a split. It would just work in one room, not central. So most of us couldn't afford it. Maybe 10% of the people had one in Tiberias. It was pretty rare. Um, Now it's common. You can buy them for very little money, not much. Uh, you can get one without installation. I don't know, $350, $400, $450. You know, stuff like that. They're not that expensive. Um, so they're also hitting the Al Maka port, which is under the control of the Saudi proxy in southern Yemen. I don't know who the Saudi proxy is. Yemen, I don't know. The Houthis are managing to strike the Saudis again and again without paying a price to it. Okay, I'll give you the details. This is pretty serious. Saba, the news agency affiliated with the Houthis, reports that the Houthis launched a drone towards Aramco oil facility, which is the largest oil refinery, if not in the world, in the Middle East. It could be in the world. The Houthi military spokesperson claimed responsibility for a missile attack against the Al Maka port, a major seaport used by the Saudi proxy in southern Yemen. Six fatalities in the attack. I'm just going to scan it and see if there's any real good details here. The Saudis are failing to produce an effective response to the Houthis in Yemen and in Saudi Arabia. And Turkey and Pakistan are not doing anything so far. So what do we make of this? We make of this that Saudi is just, like I tell you, a billionaire kid whose father and grandfather were, heavy hitters that got control of the country and ruled it, with an iron hand. And these kids grew up living in palaces, in big estates, with tutors and bodyguards, and they're incompetent when it comes to things like this. So is Trump. Trump grew up like the Saudi princes, not as rich, but grew up sort of like that, very sheltered, and look how he does with war. He doesn't know what to do. The Prince of Saudi Arabia is like Trump. He doesn't know what to do. He's looking for somebody to give him answers and do it for him. And he just keeps running around groveling for somebody to help him. Now they're talking in Israel, they're sending Netanyahu a letter telling Netanyahu that they want a full victory in Gaza, and Hamas isn't leaving, they're not giving up control, they're not giving up their weapons. Basically, run them out of Gaza or kill them. Um, it goes on. They wrote a letter. The loved ones tell so that the state of Israel would bring about a victory over the enemy, and not so that we would return to the same reality that existed on the eve of the massacre. This is Netanyahu's standard operating procedure. That piece of garbage, that garbage bucket bum. Yeah, he leaves him around to come back and hit us again. He does that, I don't know, he's been in office something like 23 years, 24 years off and on, and he keeps doing the same thing. He's a horrible leader. Horrible. What the heck is this? All right. The blood that has been spilled obliges all of us to learn the lessons and make sure that the threat is removed from the root. That means they got to get out. It means they got to be dead or get out of Gaza, Hamas. Prime Minister, members of the cabinet, you have pledged to defeat Hamas, and we demand that you keep your word. This is designed to tell Netanyahu, the piece of garbage, that you're going to fulfill your word, you lying sack of garbage, or you got an election October 27th. We're going to do our best to make sure you don't get reelected. And then, Mr. Dear Prime Minister, you're going to have to face your criminal charges, and you're likely going to go to jail for the rest of your short life, you piece of garbage. On August 13th, okay. No, that's something. So this is basically what they're telling him. And it's a real shot across the bow, because he's sitting there playing nice with Trump. And, you know, Trump is told by his boss to not pick on Satan's chosen people. And we know who they are, Hamas and that type. So, this is creating a vacuum, or a platform opening up for candidates running against Netanyahu to sit there and say, if I get elected, Hamas is either buried or out of Gaza. See, Trump's off that already. Trump is weak. He's weak. He tells the people, oh, just put up with some rising gas prices. Oh, just put up with some high tariffs. You people are too dumb to realize that you pay the tariffs, right? Well, this is Trump. Hey, have you been spending your $2,000 economic stimulus package that he said he was going to give you? See, he's junk. Okay, how did it go with the auditing the Fort Knox gold with Elon Musk? Oh, gee, he never told us anything about that. Oh, you see what I mean? And the people put up with it, just like they put up with Netanyahu in Israel. It's pathetic. On August 13th, new subject, a Russian drone went into Romanian airspace and penetrated Romanian airspace. It was a suicide drone. It did not attack. There has been an extraordinarily large amount of drone activity around Romania. Its defense minister says more than 100 drones were detected near Romania, near their territory, not necessarily over their territory, near it, in 4 days. That would be an arithmetic straight up average of 25 drones a day. And they're activating NATO fighter jets, are scrambling. They scrambled 7 times in 4 days. Now, we don't know, out of this 100, did more of them enter Romania than the one on the 13th. I have an understanding that some of them did. They entered the airspace. Okay, let me keep going. On August 14th, the following day, today's the 15th, a Russian drone penetrated Latvia, their airspace, and was shot down by a NATO aircraft. It was an Italian Eurofighter, shot the drone out of the sky. So what it looks like to me at this point in time is Putin is provoking NATO, irritating them, agitating them, making them scramble jets, and doing things that he believes, and I would say correctly believes, that will not cause a war to break out. It's just an irritating thing, but NATO's not going to start going to war over a few drone flights when there's no attacks. Okay? And Putin knows that. Now, Putin could barely hold up against Ukraine. Okay? So you've got to ask yourself, how insane does Putin have to be while he can barely handle Ukraine to take on NATO, which has massively more power than he does? All right, there is a prayer request here. I don't know any names or details to get the prayer. Let's see how we can do this. Corey Perry. Okay, let me shut this lower. All right. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I submit a prayer to you for Corey Perry's father to have more mental clarity. I submit this prayer to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you people that are believers can agree with this. Make it a little more powerful, okay? All right. Let's see. Soldiers should revolt. He said the deployment was not long enough. Well, I think the soldiers are very far from rebelling against Trump as the commander-in-chief. Let's see, someone says if they made another coin for Trump, it would have two faces on it. It would have two faces on one side and let's say a derriere on the other side. Okay. He speak with forked tongue, and he does. All right. Now we're going to go Bible study the daughter of Babylon, and we know who that is, and we're going to use the ancient manuscripts to do it. Let me get where I need to be. All right. And we're going to deal a lot with the nation from the north. We're going to get into all of that. We're going to discuss the possibilities for that, okay? And it ain't Canada. Let's not even go there, okay? I can't imagine that. When it says the nation from the north, it's usually speaking of north of Israel. I don't imagine it to be Canada. It could be because it comes in from the north, but I think it's the enemy coming into Canada. I'm not really very high on the Canadian people being rallied up to attack America and plunder them and kill them, and yeah, just not. I don't see that. Okay. All right. So we're using what's called Codex Leningrad, which is the oldest Hebrew Old Testament that exists. It's the oldest Masoretic text. Now, it goes back around 900 AD, which is quite a ways back, okay? And we're also going to use the Codex Vaticanus. Now, don't start going off, oh, that's the Catholic Church. No. This actually goes back to around 300 AD, and it predates the Catholic Church. So there was no Catholic Church at that time. They stole the name with the Vatican, but it is a collection of fragments of the original Septuagint, which is the Greek version of the Old Testament done in the year 250 AD, which is 250 years before Yeshua came down to Israel on earth. So they didn't have an axe to grind like they do today, because Yeshua had not shown up and they didn't know much about Messiah. Okay? So I'm not playing games with some modern Septuagints the church created. Going back to the original stuff, okay? So it's in Greek. So we got two ancient witnesses, and we're going to put them together. We're going to use one. They're separate, but we can use one and then get more clarity from the other and see what it really says. what the text really says. As you had a kind of a rude awakening yesterday about how bad the King James can be. It can be pretty bad. Um, okay, the English translations are really horrible. Okay, let's get going. Verse 1. Predominantly, I'll start with the Codex Leningrad, which is the old Hebrew manuscript. Okay. The word that Jehovah spake concerning Babel, you see, the text really isn't Babylon, it's Babel. And there is no Babylon, it's always Babel. And that word means confusion. Okay? And you know the world is confused right now, right? Okay. Concerning the land of the Chaldeans. Now, the Chaldeans were witches, basically, fortune tellers, things like that, in old Babel. The old Babylon in Iraq, what we call Iraq today, okay? Okay, but it's not talking about Iraq, okay? All right. It's talking about the good old USA, as you'll see. Unless you're going to close your eyes to it and run away, then you're not going to see. Then you'll find out when it's too late. Concerning the land of the Chaldeans by the hand of Yeremahu or Jeremiah. It's Yeremahu Hanavi, Jeremiah the prophet. Now, the verse 1 in the Greek is way abbreviated. It just reads like this: the word of the Lord which he spoke against Babel, or Babylon. Okay, verse 2. Proclaim among the nations and make heard and lift up a sign. Okay, so what does that would say? Proclaim among the nations and let tidings be heard. So this, okay, let's read the rest of it, of that verse. Lift up a sign, make heard, do not withhold, say, Babel is captured, Bel is shamed. Bel is one of the demon idols in the old Babylon. Merodach, same thing, is dismayed. Her images are shattered. It says her images are shattered. And what is it saying in the Greek one here, Vaticanus? Proclaim among the nations and let tidings be heard. Good tidings, don't hold it back. Broadcast what's going to happen. That's what I'm doing. But how many of the other sites are doing this? Be heard and hide nothing. Say, Babel is taken, Bel, it says Bellis. I guess that's another rendition for Bel. Bellis is shamed. The fearless, the luxurious Merodach is handed over. And the finishing of it in the Hebrew version is Bel is shamed, Merodach is dismayed, her images are shamed, her idols are dismayed. Now, we've many times covered the idols in America. Verse 3, for a nation from the north, now it's a heathen nation, has gone up and it says, come up against her in the Greek from the north. It shall, and it's, the Hebrew says, up against her, as in the daughter of Babylon. Her daughter, right? It shall make her land a desolation. Even the Greek says that. He shall make her land a desolation. So the nation from the north is a he, making her land a desolation. As in Statue of Liberty, Columbia, the District of Columbia, named after the poor of Babylon, the capital. Make her land a desolation, and there shall be none to dwell in it, neither human nor beast. Let's finish it in the Hebrew. Shall make her land a desolation, and there shall be no dweller in it. From human to beast, they have wandered, they have gone. Verse 4, in those days and in that time, declares Jehovah, the children of Israel shall come. Okay, let's read the Greek. In those days and at that time, the children of Israel shall come. Where are they going to? Brazil, Argentina, China? No, they're going to Israel. They and the children of Judah together, they shall go. So when you got the children of Judah, you got Judah and Levi, and when you got the children of Israel, you got the 10 tribes. Let's see, 10 plus 2 equal 12. Oh, the 12 tribes back in Israel. Well, now we'll call it Israel. Of course, the 10 tribes are here, not just Judah. So we're not going to be referring to it as Judah and Jerusalem, like the way it's referred to by Jehovah now. Oh, they shall go weeping as they go, seeking the Lord their God. They are seeking him in Israel. They and I'm going back to the Hebrew now. They and the children of Judah together, walking and weeping, they shall go, and Jehovah their God they shall seek. Now, why all of a sudden are they seeking Jehovah? How do you seek Jehovah by coming to Israel? Well, the glory God of Israel will be in the temple. The next temple that comes down from heaven. Read Ezekiel 37, the last 3 verses. God places that temple here, and it's not New Jerusalem. So, let's read the beginning of this verse, because it's very revealing. In those days and in that time, declares Jehovah, the children of Israel shall come, and they and the children of Judah. That is the next great Exodus. That means that in those days, at that time, Yeshua appeared in the clouds. And those that believe, that have the Holy Spirit, received everlasting life. But we read in Zechariah 12 that, I believe it's in verse 10, that the Israelites here had the Spirit poured out on them, and then they saw Yeshua in the clouds, and then they got the everlasting life. And I believe that would happen to all the Israelites around the world. And it will also, the everlasting life will affect every believer who's either an Israelite in the flesh or not an Israelite in the flesh. They will be in real Israel, which is not based solely on the flesh. Okay? The spiritual is extremely important. So that's when the appearing is, in those days at that time. Is that going to give us the day of the hour? Not a chance. Is it going to give us the season? Yeah, you're supposed to have the season. Is the church teaching any of this? Any of the churches that you know of teaching this? Why? Why? Why do you think? Verse 5, it's obvious they don't want you to know it. Verse 5, they shall ask about Zion, Sion. That means a dry, parched place. That's what this place is like now. They shall ask about Sion, or Zion in English. Their faces in this direction. Come and let us join ourselves to Jehovah in an everlasting, as in everlasting life, everlasting covenant. That shall not be forgotten by the people. God never forgets. That's because the Spirit's poured out on them and they want to go to the land. The fact that they're not living in Israel means they lost their way. Do you understand? They don't know where they're supposed to be. They don't know their right hand from their left hand, the non-believers. They don't know nothing. Now the Spirit's poured out and they say, well, why am I living in these heathen nations? I want to go to where there's righteousness. I want to be by the city that's named after God. Yah, Rushalayim. Yah, Rushalayim. Yah, named after God. The only city in the world. They want to be where the temple is, where the glory of God is, where the prophets, Enoch and Elijah are, where Apostle John is, where the anointed princes. They don't want to be anywhere else. They want to be there, and they're making a beeline for there. It's real simple. If you're in North America or South America, just, go east. That's how you start. Okay. Verse 6, my people have been lost sheep. They wandered off their own territory. Their shepherds caused them to stray. And the existing shepherds today are not calling for them to come back. Driving them away on the mountains from mountain to hill. They went, they forgot their resting place, but now they remember and they come back to their resting place. Because the Spirit is poured out on them. There's no other explanation for that kind of behavior. And you, the true believers that are not of Israelite origin, you're not going to need, you already have the Spirit, you know where you want to be, You want to be with Trump, or you want to be in Israel, or you want to be with the guy up in Canada, or, the head of Argentina or Colombia, or, come on. Verse 7. All who found them devoured them. The Greek is all that found them consumed them. Pretty close. And their adversaries said, we are not guilty because they sinned against Jehovah, the abode of justice, and the hope of their fathers, Jehovah. So the demon people are learning that because Israel's in 2,000 years of punishment, going back to Hosea 6:1 and 2, beginning in 70 AD, they could do things to these people and God doesn't do much about it. But he started to do much about it in the prophetic period of recompenses, which we're in now, and it's getting worse. Notice the Middle Eastern Arab states are killing each other, and Israel's just sitting there watching. And you want to let that escape over your head and not pay attention to it. You certainly have the right to do that, but you're being foolish. Something's changing. And it might be these two big earthquakes within a week of each other is associated, well, is also a change. Prophetic changes coming to pass. Verse 8, Jeremiah 50, verse 8. Flee from the midst of Babel and from the land of the Chaldeans. Go out and be like male goats before the flock. Let's read it in the Greek, the Codex Vaticanus. Flee out of the midst of Babel and from the land of the Chaldeans, and go forth and become like serpents before sheep. No, I don't like the serpents. The goats. The goats are tough, aggressive animals in front of the herd of sheep. So, see, we'll be fighting. You'll see those scriptures probably today. But be bold. See, with your everlasting life, you're going to be young again. You're going to jump out of the stall like the baby calf, and you're going to bark and jump around, and you're going to be completely different. Okay. For behold, I am rousing and bringing up against Babel, or Babylon, the daughter of Babylon. Don't let them tell you this applies to the nation of Babylon. It's not. The nation Babylon, when it came down, one country, Cyrus did it, okay? And the way he did it, just to be very quick, he came and tried to attack the walls of Babylon, the protective walls. And the Babylonians were laughing at them, and then they came out and drove them away, and then they went and diverted the water, the river, going under the fence into Babylon, into 28 subsidiaries that night, because he had a big army, and it drained the water level down to mud with nothing. And then the soldiers during the night walked under the wall into Babylon. And when the people of Babylon woke up in the morning, they realized they were captive. And that way, none of the Israelites in the country inside the walls was injured. Whereas if it was a big knockdown, typical battle, there would have been catapults with big things made out of tar, like wheat and oats and tar, and they'd light it on fire and fling it over the wall and start fires in the place, and they'd shoot fire arrows and regular arrows, and they would fling rocks in with catapults, and it would have been hard on the Jews. So this way it was over immediately. Then Cyrus gave the artifacts to the Jews and gave them a letter of safe passage and sent them back to Israel. Behold, I am rousing and bringing up against Babylon an assembly of great nations. Now, Babylon was not destroyed by an assembly of great nations. It was one. And from the land of the north, they shall line up against her. From there she shall be captured. His arrows are like a skilled warrior who slays. None shall return empty. Okay, they weren't doing that when the old Babylon was attacked. They just snuck in at night and it was over. They got the drop on them. Okay, now it says from the land of the north. Now, could that be Russia? Yes, but not really a good choice. Russia's about 1,650 miles up, and then over only about 100, 150 miles. But that just brings you to the western edge, the western border of Russia. And then from there, Russia goes thousands of miles to the east. So it's a bad choice. It's quite a far distance north, and then it's a reasonable distance to the east. Not a good choice. Your better choices are Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Turkey. Those are the ones that are more fitting. You know, that's how I see it. I don't see Russia coming in on this one very easily. Do I see Russia getting destroyed? Well, it's probably a third of the way there or a fourth of the way there already. Putin's failing miserably. So the Lord's bringing against Babylon an assembly of nations. In the Greek it says, for behold, I stir up against Babel assemblies of nations out of the land of the north. Now, could it be Iran? I don't think Iran will fit in on the timing of this. Don't think so. I could be wrong. Okay, let's go to verse 10. Chaldea shall become, that's America, plunder. All who plunder her shall be satisfied, declares Jehovah. So that's going to take some time. Do you think you could plunder the United States of America in a half a day or a week? It's going to take time. The wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous. So the invaders are going to get the loot out of America, take it back, and then they're going to try to go after Israel. And the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous, so it'll revert to us. Because you rejoice, because you exult, plunderers of my inheritance. Plunderers of my inheritance. This is in the time of recompenses. The ones that, ripping off the land given for Israel. That God made a covenant to give us from the Euphrates to the Nile. Because you leap like a treading heifer and bellow Because you rejoice, see, the people rejoice at plundering us like beasts, okay? Wiping their feet over what God says. Your mother shall be deeply shamed. She who bore you shall be disgraced. Behold, the last of the nations, a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. The last of the nations is America, by God's standard, not what the UN makes up, okay? She who bore you, again, it's a female, it's Columbia. The Statue of Liberty is Columbia, okay? Columbia Motion Pictures shows you basically this thing. She is the whore of Babylon, okay? What God calls a whore, they take and make an idol out of it and think it's great. Because of the wrath of Jehovah, she shall not be inhabited. Because of the wrath of Jehovah, she shall not be inhabited, but shall be a complete desolation. Everyone who passes by Babel shall be appalled and hiss at all her wounds. I think the hissing could be, like whistling, I think. Okay. Now we're in Jeremiah 50, verse 14. Line up against Babel all around, all you who bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows, for against Jehovah she has sinned. So she's going to be surrounded. Shout against her all around. She has surrendered, and her hand okay, she has surrendered. Now in the Greek it says, now I'm in verse 50, wait a minute. She has, okay, spare no, all right, now this is verse 15. Shout against her all around. She has surrendered her hand. Now, the Greek is prevail against her. That means be successful. Roundabout her hands are weakened, her bulwarks are fallen, and her wall is broken down. For it is the vengeance from God. Take vengeance upon her, as one has done, do to her. Okay, so let's go back to the Hebrew now. She has given her hand, is what it's saying, surrendered her hand. Now, can you see Trump surrendering? I can, in a heartbeat. Her bulwarks are fallen, her walls are torn down. What walls are that? Well, the 2,500 or so miles of walls they got between Mexico and America. Did the old Babylon have walls separating their country? No, they had walls around their big city, Babylon, there. But the walls never came down. Cyrus went under the wall. There's no match for the old Babylon. He had none. Okay. Her walls are torn down, for it is the vengeance of Jehovah. Take vengeance upon her, as she has done due to her. See, let me just be graphic, and I'm going to irritate some of you people, but what I'm doing here is I'm not trying to preach to the unsaved, because they would know what the heck I'm talking about. That's obvious, right? I'm preaching to those that know the Bible and know the faith, okay? And I'm trying to pull them out of the apostate churches. And I'm trying to give them the truth. You understand? If I preach to the ungodly, what am I going to the unsaved? And I'm doing it on the internet. What happens when they get saved? I say, okay, see you around the campus. What do I do with them? Do I bring them to some people's houses where we nurture them, pray with them, pray for them, demon toss them, put oil on them and pray for them if they're sick? What do we do with them? We can't do anything with them, because where are they? How are we going to help them? They're going to maybe likely wind up going to the churches. As the Godfather would say, capiche? You know, that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to help them for real. We're not looking for Band-Aids. We're looking to help these people for real. Okay? Like in the scriptures, it says that day 5,000 were added to them. Okay? But they had places to bring them. They had congregations. We don't. It's not always going to be this way. It's like we're forerunners with the true gospel. We want them to lead them to the Lord, and then they go to a church, and you see them 2 or 3 months later, and they don't care about anything because they're going to get raptured up before it starts. So I'm trying to get people to come out from among them, because we're not of them. They're not of the apostate church. And I'm trying to get them to come out. I'm not preaching to the unsaved Israelites, because it's not yet time. Their eyes are still closed and their ears are still stopped up. So I'm building a little army of forerunners, okay, that you'll see the Lord using. And what you got with the people in America, when I grew up there, they didn't care what happened after World War II, what America did, what the CIA did, with their revolutions in different countries to get their hands on natural resources. They didn't care. They just wanted a better economy. And they let the Americans do whatever they wanted. And what they did in America, in Vietnam, was atrocious. to stop the spread of communism, as they said it. They were dropping napalm on these people. Napalm is burning the people alive. They scream when they get the napalm. It burns them alive. They burn their villages. They rape the women. They massacred civilians. They went to war against the country that was not at war with them. Okay? They did the same thing in North Korea. In the 50s, they were going to stop the spread of communism. That went very badly. They never won. They made a peace deal. Okay. Never won. Vietnam went a good 10 years, maybe more. They never won. Did they win the Iraq War when they got rid of Saddam Hussein? Yes, America plus other countries did win. But what the heck were they fighting for? That dog running Kuwait? Yep. It's a bad cause. One rotten dictator fighting another rotten dictator, and they send American kids over there to get killed. How'd they do in Afghanistan? Bad, they left. Venezuela sent dope dealers and gangsters from nut houses to America, and Trump got mad, right? And he went and threatened Venezuela and attacked drug boats, and then eventually he got Maduro out of there and got him in jail someplace in America. And he more or less took over Venezuela. Because Venezuela sent bad people in America to do bad things, which is basically sell drugs. Now, does Trump have a double standard with Israel? Yes. He doesn't want us to get rid of the Hezbollah in Lebanon that attack us with missiles and drones. Trump took Venezuela over based on gangs selling dope and maybe some human trafficking. And he wants us to put up with Hezbollah launching missiles and drones at us and leave them there. He doesn't want us being nasty to the Lebanese government that lets them operate there. But look what he did to Maduro for letting these bad ones come up to America. But he doesn't want us to do that. By his standards, we should go occupy Lebanon, suspend the government, put them under house arrest, and run the place by military law. Look at Hamas. He wants to leave them there. Look what he did to Venezuela. Watch what he does to Cuba if time allows, prophetically. Did Cuba attack the United States? No. Did Hamas and Hezbollah attack the United States? Yes. Attack Israel? Yes, many times. But he wants us to put up with it. He wants to do the Kissinger doctrine. No side wins. His problem, Trump's problem, is this is the period of recompenses. Incorrectly translated, it says year of recompenses. The word is Shana, which is more like a prophetic period of time. It's not a calendar year. But he has a double standard for how he behaves and how we should behave. And I don't think Jehovah's very pleased with him. There's no signs that he wants Israel to be the head of the nations or anything like that. The only signs I see is he wants to help Satan's chosen people. Before I forget, please pray for Mommy Dog. We're not understanding what's wrong with her. She kind of goes in and out. The vet's trying to figure out exactly what it is. She thinks it's some sort of organ or glandular failure. And she's thinking it likely is something where we can just get medicine and give it to her and she'll be normal and live a number of years. That's the thought, but it hasn't begun yet. So please keep praying for Mommy Dog. It's really taken its toll on us. In a period of 24 hours, she can get from walking around and being almost herself to just laying around on the floor and not being herself at all. And she's not old, you know, and she's been just a sweet dog, and it's really ripping us up, you know. So please keep the prayers going for Mommy Dog. I really appreciate it for complete healing. Now I don't know what else to do. But okay. So the people in America don't care what America does. They just want the cars, cheap gas, nice houses. They want to go party. They've made sexual deviant behavior, you know, how they've treated that, and so forth. Okay. Verse 16 of Jeremiah 15. Cut off the sower from Babylon and the one handling the sickle in harvest time from before the oppressive sword. Each man shall turn to his own people, and each shall flee to his own land. The Greek is utterly destroy seed out of Babel, and him that holds a sickle in time of harvest, for fear of the Grecian sword. They shall return every one to his people and everyone shall flee to his own land. Okay, the takeaway here is it's the agricultural workers that come in to plant the crops and harvest the crops. They're going to get scared and run out of there and go home. And that's what we're seeing. That's what this is, okay? I don't think it's in its fullness at all. Verse 17, some of them definitely left because of the crackdown by the immigration authorities. But I don't think we're in the fullness yet. Verse 17, Israel is a scattered sheep. The Greek is a wandering sheep. Lions have driven him away. First, the king of Assyria devoured him. And now last means it's the last time it's going to happen. And the Greek is, and this last king of Babylon. Okay, now that's not clear enough. The Hebrew is, and now last this Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, has broken his bones. This Nebuchadnezzar is not the old Nebuchadnezzar that hurt us in Babylon. This Nebuchadnezzar is the current president of the United States. Or if it changes presidents for some reason, Trump could be assassinated, impeached, sick and die or whatever. You know, the president of the United States is the Nebuchadnezzar. So far, Trump, king of Babel, had broken his bones. And it says in the Greek, king of Babylon has gnawed his bones. So he's going to turn against us. It says he will do evil in our sight. Okay? Now, it might be that Netanyahu does not get the election and somebody else comes in, and they'll say to Trump, more than likely, anytime you have something to say, we're all ears. We'll come listen. But don't think we're going to obey everything you say. That will infuriate Trump. Therefore, thus says Jehovah of hosts. That's Jehovah of armies, the God of Israel. Now, can you find me a scripture where he says he's the God of the churches? Behold, I am visiting punishment upon the king of Babel and his land, as I visited punishment upon the king of Assyria. And I will bring Israel back to his pasture. Back, return again, next great Exodus. Back to his pasture. Where's the pasture? In China? In Russia? No. Here. Israel. I'm sitting in Israel. I'm in the Galilee. I go out this way, 300-400 meters, I can see the whole Galilee. Okay, he shall graze on Carmel, that's near Haifa, and Bashan, and in the hill country of Ephraim and Gilead, his soul shall be satisfied. That's us, that's our future. We don't really know from a satisfied soul, do we? I don't think so. 20. In those days and in that time, declares Jehovah, the lawlessness of Israel shall be sought, but there shall be none. And the sins of Judah, but they shall not be found. for I will pardon those whom I leave as a remnant. You never hear this in the churches. You got 1 billion going to the Catholic churches, you got 1 billion going to the nominal and the Pentecostal churches, and you're never going to hear this preached. Not correctly, anyway. Go up against the land of Merathion. So he's calling America the land of the demons. And when you study the amount of idols and demons they got around that country, you get it. Against it and against the inhabitants of Picode, waste. That goes back to the old Babylon Picode. Waste and devote them to destruction. After them, declares Jehovah, and do according to all that I command you. A sound of battle in the land and great destruction. Deluge, not deluge. The Codex Vaticanus. A sound of, I'll just say the Greek, a sound of battle and of great destruction in the land of the Chaldeans. Back to the Hebrew, verse 23. How the hammer of the whole earth is cut down and broken. Now, if America's not the hammer of the whole earth, who the heck is? America's out there now, you know, in Asia, working with South Korea against North Korea, working with Taiwan against China, working with Japan against China. They're in NATO, they're in Europe, they're helping Ukraine fight against Russia, they're fighting in the Middle East. They've got things going on in South America with Venezuela. Soon Trump is saying they're going to take care of Cuba. You know, and you're going to tell me America's not the hammer of the whole earth. Who is? Nobody but them. A sound of battle in the land and great destruction. And now we're in verse 23. How the hammer of the whole earth is cut down and broken. How Babel has become a desolation among the nations. It's resented by God so much that it never gets occupied by people again. Listen to this, verse 24. I set a snare for you, and you were also captured, Babel. The Greek is, they shall come upon you, and you shall not know it. Well, that would be the result of a snare, but it calls it a snare in the Hebrew. And the Hebrew says, and you were also captured, Babel, and you did not know. You were found and also caught. Because against Jehovah you contended. He fights against God. It says resist the Lord in the Greek. He does. He wanted to take Gaza and make Trump casino resorts out of it after Israel fought against them. Jehovah has opened his armory and brought out the weapons of his indignation, his anger, for a work belongs to the Lord, Jehovah of hosts, in the land of the Chaldeans. That's America. Come against her from the end. What? Come against her from the end. The Greek is for her times are come. Okay. The Hebrew. Open her granaries, pile her up like heaps of grain. Pile her up like heaps of grain, and devote her to destruction. Let her have no remnant. Nobody remains. Slaughter all her bulls. Now, a bull is most likely not the animal. The bull would be like the law enforcement authorities. In the streets of New York, they call detectives a bull. Okay, it would be the law enforcement. I believe. Let them go down to the slaughter. Woe to them, for their day has come, the time of their visitation. God's not doing a visitation on a beast called a bull. You understand? It's a dumb animal. You're not going to do a visitation on that. Okay. The sound of those fleeing and escaping from the land of Babel, to declare in Zion the vengeance of Jehovah our God. Now we'll read it in the Greek. A voice of men fleeing and escaping from the land of Babel, to declare to Zion, to Zion, the vengeance coming from the Lord our God. Okay, so that means you're getting out of Dodge. Those fleeing and escaping, to declare in Zion, that's the believers, those are the Israelites. They're going to tell everybody in Zion what's going on. Obviously, the internet's not working, and there's not TV stations broadcasting, I would say, right? Verse 29. Summon archers against Babel, all who bend the bow, encamp against her all around. Let no one escape. Pay her back according to her work, according to all that she did, do to her. For against Jehovah she acted insolently, against the Holy One. So in the previous verse 28, it talks about those fleeing and escaping from the land of Babel to declare in Zion. So they came to Israel. Okay. Now the next verse says, summon the archers against Babel, all who bend the bow, encamp against her all around. let no one escape. So after the next great exodus, which would be after Yeshua appeared in the clouds, and those with the everlasting life, which could be the Israelites, would be the Israelites, and the non-Israelite believers, they're left. Then the archers come and surround the place, and nobody else gets out. Okay. And it's saying, pay her back according to her works, according to all that she did. Do to her, for against Jehovah she acted insolently. Against the Holy One of Israel. Therefore her young men shall fall in her squares, and all her men of war shall be silenced in that day, declares Jehovah. Well, that sounds like millions of sleeper agents or something. Behold, I am against you, O arrogant one, declares the Lord Adonai Jehovah of hosts, of armies, for your day has come, the time I will visit punishment upon you. This could likely be the day of vengeance that it happens to America and other countries, because the Great Exodus started. But on the other hand, this Great Exodus could run for many months with all the different countries, so it probably will run a considerable amount of time. Punishment upon you. Okay, now we're in verse 32. The arrogant one, that's the Satan bot usually, shall stumble and fall. Hip hip hooray, with no one to raise him up. Hip hip hooray. And I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all around him. And the Greek says something a little different. And the arrogant one shall be weak and fall. Good. And there shall be none to raise him up. Good. And I will kindle a fire in his forest, and it shall devour all things round about him. Well, we're seeing the fire is more so in the forests than in the cities, so that requires a little research why the Hebrew says the cities and the Septuagint doesn't. Well, they're close, but the word cities is important. We could take a moment to get some clarification on this. I'm digging into the source roots and stuff here. Hang on. The Hebrew seems pretty good because the root word means city. Ayat. Okay, and in the Vaticanus, I'm reading this out. I'll tell you what it says in a minute. Okay, I'm going to think that we're correct with the word cities. Yeah. I don't think they did a good job with the Septuagint on this. I think cities is the better translation. And we got to remember that there's gas lines in the cities. You go back to the '06 earthquake in San Francisco, they had gas lines, and it was tragic what happened. You know, it's going to cause the explosions and fires and everything. Okay, verse 33. Thus says Jehovah of hosts, the children of Israel are oppressed, and the children of Judah together. All who took them captive held them fast. They refused to let them go. They did that, they held us fast, and then they threw us out of the countries. They stripped us of our wealth and threw us out. Verse 34, their Redeemer is strong. Jehovah of hosts is his name. He will surely plead their cause so as to bring rest to the earth. But unrest to the inhabitants of Babel. The Redeemer is strong. That makes me think now we're in a year of redemption, the Shanat, prophetic time of redemption. And of course, the next great exodus would be in the redemption period. We're getting our inheritance back. Okay, That's also, you have the everlasting life. Uh, See, in Hosea 6, 1 and 2, we're told the punishment on Israel for them killing Mashiach, Yeshua, is 2 days, and it's not a 48-hour punishment. Peter says 1,000 years is like a day unto the Lord, so it's a 2,000-year punishment. I would think that either it's over or it's almost over, because we got the redemption going on, the recompenses going on. And look, we're not fighting, and the Arab states in the Middle East are killing each other. And Trump's destroying Iran. Don't think he's not destroying Iran. He is. He's destroyed it with bombs and missiles, and now he's destroying it economically. Okay, but it's going to happen. They're going to have to leave that country. So, we're not fighting. The reason I say we're not fighting is we're moving further and further closer to the day of vengeance. And when you look at the day of vengeance, which you could see in Zechariah 12, Malachi 4, there's no army in Israel doing anything. We don't even hear of the government or the army. They could already be gone. The two witnesses could have just, said, hey, you're done. Okay? They're not going to work with us, dude. You can't work with the transactional, short-armed people. So, they're gone. And the people aren't fighting. Enoch and Elijah take care of it. They burn them up. Not a big effort. And the bad ones in Israel get burned up too. The 2/3 get cut off. So, they come to an end. But Israel's not doing much. It's possible that Turkey and Pakistan and Saudi and maybe America will join in. Maybe not. Maybe other countries will join in and they attack Iran. And Israel just sits around. But this Netanyahu gotta go. They gotta vote him out or something. Or he might bring about the collapse of any good relations between America and Israel. Maybe Netanyahu brings that. Their Redeemer is strong. Jehovah of Hosts is his name. He will surely plead their cause. So the punishment had to go for 2,000 years. He says in Zechariah 1, I believe, that he was a little angry with Israel and the nations increased the punishment on Israel. But he couldn't intervene and fight for Israel then because it was, the punishment had to run, and they made it worse than he wanted it to, and they don't want to stop. They never want to see Israel get on its feet again. Now they're contending against Jehovah. You see, the prophetic period of recompenses, what the English Bible calls a year, but it's not a year of recompenses, over the controversy of Zion, over the fighting with God about Israel. That's what that means. Verse 35. Swords upon the Chaldeans, that's the witches in America, declares Jehovah, and upon the inhabitants of Babel, and upon her princes, and upon her wise men. A sword upon the Babblers, and they shall be, now it says in the Greek, a sword upon her warriors. Okay. And they shall become fools, a sword upon her mighty men. It says different in the Greek. It says a sword upon her warriors, and they shall be paralyzed. And they shall become fools, a sword upon her mighty men, and they shall be dismayed. Dismayed could make you kind of paralyzed. You don't know what to do. You're so depressed about everything. A sword upon his horses, and upon his chariots, and upon all the mixed population in her midst. A mixed population, okay? Now, that's the melting pot of America, the mixed population, the melting pot. Points the finger right at America. Upon his chariots, and upon all the mixed population in her midst, and they shall become like women. A sword is upon her treasures, and they shall be plundered. Well, maybe they'll go in and audit Fort Knox. For them to do all the plundering of the treasures, the rich people's houses, the museums, all this stuff, is going to take weeks and weeks and weeks, Verse 39, a drought is upon her waters. That's now. I post the drought thing every week. I mean, it's more than 50% of America, 48 states, is experiencing some sort of drought. It's been going for months and months. And they shall dry up. Well, a drought is upon her waters. That's first. And they shall dry up. We haven't seen the dry up in its fullness, but we are seeing places dry up. For it is a land of carved images, and by terrifying idols they act madly. Verse 39. Therefore, desert creatures shall dwell with jackals, and ostriches shall dwell in her. She shall never again be inhabited nor lived in from generation to generation. By by people. That's how bad the Lord looks upon America. And people are going to get mad at me for talking like that. Well, so maybe you want to prefer to spend your time in churches that never tell you about this, so you just get caught up in it. You know, that's smart. Yeah, not very smart, really. No. Shall never again be inhabited nor lived in from generation to generation. Verse 40. As when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and their neighboring towns, declares Jehovah, no man shall dwell there, and no human shall reside in her. Behold, a people comes from the north, and a great nation and many kings shall be stirred up from So we're back to a nation from the north, and many kings with this nation. So it's just a collection of different nations. It's not just Cyrus. Shall be stirred up from the remote parts of the earth. Now they're coming from the remote parts of the earth, some of them. So that could be, China and North Korea and Georgia, as in Russia, who knows, okay? Russia's in a remote part, okay. Bow and spear, bow and spear they grasp. Cruel are they, and they have no mercy. Their voice roars like the sea, and on horses they ride. Their voice roars like the sea, no mercy. And on horses they ride, arrayed like a man for battle against you, O daughter of Babylon. Be very mindful, it's a female. He keeps talking about the whore of Babylon. Okay. Verse 43. The king of Babel heard the report of them, and his hands dropped limp. Sure sounds like the Donald. Distress seized him, anguish like a woman in labor. A woman in labor. Okay. Behold, like a lion going up from the thickets of Jordan to a enduring pasture, so I will suddenly make them run away from her. And who is the chosen one I may appoint over her? Okay, so he's saying, behold, like a lion going up from the thickets of Jordan to a enduring pasture, so I will suddenly make them run away from her. Those are the invaders, which it I believe comes out to be the Americans. Uh, Make them run away from her. Remember, they're building, America's putting bases in Israel now. And who is the chosen one I may appoint over her, for who is like me, and who can summon me, and who is the shepherd who can stand before my face? Therefore, probably Yeshua, um, therefore, hear the who is that shepherd who can stand before my face? Sounding like Yeshua. Therefore, hear the counsel of Jehovah that he has planned against Babel, and his purposes that he has purposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely they shall drag them away, the little ones of the flock. Surely he shall make them pasture. Make them pastures, crops growing and stuff like that. Desolate over them. At the sound of the capture of Babel, the earth trembles, and a cry is heard among the nations, among the heathens. Well, that's going to be quite something. That's the end of the chapter. We'll do, God willing, we'll do 51 tomorrow. And then maybe we'll go on to do Isaiah 47, which are the 3 chapters that really deal with this, okay? And when we do 51, you'll learn that Babylon sits on many waters, or Babel sits on many waters, which is, just to make it clear, Mecca and Medina and Saudi Arabia are in the desert. There's no waters, and the Vatican does not sit on many waters. It has fountains and toilets, and they have probably keep 50 gallons of holy water around. But that's about it. Okay. Then America's got 8,000 rivers, about probably 30,000 lakes, and you have the Great Lakes, which are like oceans just about, and then you have the Atlantic, the Pacific, and the Gulf of Mexico, or America, whatever you want to call it. So those are your many waters, okay? And Israel, of course, can't be the daughter of Babylon, because they leave the daughter of Babylon and go to Israel. So what are they going to do? How could that work if Israel is Babylon? But Babel, of course, it can't work. It's absurd. Okay. How are they going to come to Israel when they're already in Israel? Let's take a look at the live stream and see what's going on over there. In case that's something I gotta respond to, or prayers or something like that. No, we don't have anything. right, I'm going to, we'll save the rest for tomorrow. And those of you that live in the daughter of Babylon, you have to understand, if you're a believer, it's not going to matter. You'll be coming on the ships of Tarshish, which has got to be the cruise ships in my book, and you come to Israel. Now, I don't know. No, I'm thinking that those of you that are believers already will just come straight to Israel, and I'm thinking the Israelites that just get the Spirit poured out on them and get the everlasting life when Yeshua appears. They are the ones that I think might be stopping in the wilderness, and they have to enter the bond of the covenant and pass under the rod. Because you read about a lot of the people being brought to Israel by other nations, kings and stuff, carrying them on like stretchers on beasts, carrying them themselves and bringing them to Israel as an offering unto the Lord, and then walking in and stuff like that, or coming on animals. So it doesn't say they stopped in the wilderness. It's just bringing them into Israel. And then the dry bones are also coming here, and I don't see the dry bones going to the wilderness. It doesn't say the dry bones are going into New Jerusalem. I don't see it that way. That's something we'll have to cover too. So, okay, so I hope you're enjoying this, and I'll get a prayer going for us right now. My Heavenly Father, Yehovah, B'Shem, Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for me and my wife, all the true believers, and our households and families, that we would be happy, healthy, and whole, and have your peace, joy, calm, rest, shalom, peace, and we would have strength, stamina, and endurance, and your healing and recuperative power flowing through us, healing as needed. And I pray that our animals and pets would be safe, secure, happy, healthy, and whole, and us too. And I pray we pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and I pray that those of us that need a place to live, need a job, need clients and customers would find these things. Okay? Those of us that that all of us would have adequate money and then some extra. And I pray the offerings pick up, because that's important to keep me going. And I pray that we would know more about the scriptures, we'd learn the scriptures better, retain it, and I would be able to teach better and do better live streams. And I submit this to you, my Heavenly Father, Yehovah, B'Shem, Yeshua HaMashiach. And if you're a believer, you can agree with this, even if it's a video, don't worry about it. Now we'll switch to spiritual warfare. B'Shem, Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father, Yehovah, regarding me and my wife and all the true believers and our families and households, I loose from any of these people any unclean spirit in them, is out of them immediately, shall never return again. To them, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And I also loose off of any and all of these people any evil spiritual war, witchcraft, or other horrible spiritual things that would be done by unclean spirits, or people serving the unclean spirits, all those things targeting these people, which is me and my wife, all the true believers, their households and families. All of that stuff is null and void, of no value, no effect forever, shall never return, even in a similar fashion, forever. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with all these things as believers as well, and it makes them stronger. So I hope you got something out of that, and I thank you for praying for Mommy Dog, and please keep the prayers going. The dog needs it, and maybe you guys might even want to try some spiritual warfare if anybody did something to her. But I've been doing that. I don't know what's going on. It's all sudden. I don't know what it is. I don't get it. But anyway, I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those above Yeshua HaMashiach, and I'm out. I hope you got something out of this, and I'm gone. By the way, the Hebrew here is probably a little more accurate than the Greek, which is they were taking off from the original text and putting it into Greek. So I think the Codex Leningrad is the better of them, I think. Okay, I'm out. Thank you. Hope you got something out of this.